职场上的沟通并不是这么的 black and white， 有非常多的句子它就是在灰色地带，一不小心它可能会让人家会错意。 So let's have a listen to today's episode. Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. If you've listened to our past episodes, you've probably heard us talk a little bit about how not all these phrases and words that people love to put up on Instagram are so black and white, like you cannot say these 5 things, or don't do this, or these are the 5 most important phrases. Because depending on context and depending on the situation, you may have a good use for these different phrases. However, there are things that you can say in the office that without the right context and consideration may lead to a misunderstanding or may be a bit misleading when someone hears it.
那今天我们想要介绍的这些句子啊，或者是字啊，其实我们都是常常在生活当中或者是在职场上面所会听到的。那这个当然也不一定说非母语人士才会犯的错误，其实呢很多母语人士他们也是讲这些句子，那有的时候就会让对方有点不是那么的舒服。 So let's get into the first one, and I got asked this one quite a lot. The question is, you look tired. Are you okay?
This is a phrase that a lot of people think is quite acceptable because I'm showing concern, I'm showing that I care. But you have to remember that if someone isn't feeling okay, if they are feeling down, then you've just reminded them or flagged that. And so it's not that it's a problem to show that you have concern or you have care, but you just have to remember how people receive that information. So if they've had a long, hard day out and then someone's like, man, you look how I feel, then they'll just be like, oh, I tried to look okay. Or maybe they actually are feeling fine and now they are self-conscious. So you really have to think about the person you're saying this to.
那我其实以前在大学的时候啊，不知道为什么，可能我的眼睛不是很大吧I'm like,我是内双，所以我的眼睛就稍微比较小一点。然后那个时候我就觉得很多大学的同学说 You look so tired. And I know they're kind of trying to show concern, 但是只要有人讲这一句话或问我这个问题，我马上都会觉得说 Oh my God, do I look terrible today? Do I look horrible? But I tried. I really tried. I made an effort. 就觉得说有的时候可能那有某些人他或许他已经很努力的想要 cover up， 他可能今天呢心情很不好，发生了一些事情 They feel really sad. 那如果你又非常真诚的 point out You look so sad. Are you okay? 这个可能并不是最好的一个方式。
So there's 2 ways to go about handling this. One is if you are genuinely concerned and want to show care, you can have this conversation, or you can even use this phrase, but don't use it in a public setting. Pull the person aside, or maybe catch them where they're away from people and be like, hey, is there anything that I can do for you today? You look a little bit tired. Is everything okay? At least if it's in a private situation, they will not feel like you're just calling them out in front of everyone else in the office or in a public place. The second way that you can handle this is actually bring yourself in there as like a way to either sympathize, empathize, or to not put the focus on them. So for example, you may say something like, I really need a pick-me-up. Would you like a cup of coffee? I'm happy to, pick up something.
Or else you can say, hey, I need to go to get a cup of coffee. Would you like to come with me? Just create 一些机会能够让你们有一对一的时间。所以你如果真心很比较觉得这一位同事他需要一点关心，那我觉得你可以去创造像这样子的机会。So you don't really need to point out, you look tired, you look sad, you look anxious. You don't need to point it out at all. All you have to do is let's go grab a cup of coffee. 然后在1对1的时候，你就可以再来细问他 How are you doing today? Are you feeling okay?
The next phrase that may cause a misunderstanding is something very similar, where you may assume I'm paying someone a compliment, but then if the context or if the relationship isn't that close, it may create a bit of awkwardness.
Yeah.
And that phrase is very simply like, wow, you're all dressed up today. Do you have a job interview or something?
I actually heard that quite a lot in the States, especially in the corporate environment. 这个句子，这个 statement 其实它有点是半开玩笑的一种方法，因为你也知道嘛，如果你今天要去另外一个公司做 interview 的话，一定是1到5时间， so you kind of have to ask for like a couple days or a couple hours off from work. 那如果你平常又是那种不是 dressed up 的人，你突然间哪一天 dressed up， 然后你正好了又请假请了1-2个小时 obviously that's a little bit like yeah you're going for an interview. 但是如果你今天呢只是以同事的身份，你老板坐在远远那个地方，他有可能会听到哦，然后你又跟你同事这样讲说 Hey, you're dressed up today. You had an interview somewhere? 其实会让人家会觉得有一点尴尬 you know, they don't know what to say in that situation. And what if they really don't have an interview? They just feel like dressing up today.
For me, funny enough, I actually use this phrase all the time, but only part of it. And I would say my justification is that if it's someone very close to you, right? Like this is someone you've worked together for a long time or you've had a long relationship, maybe joking around happens a lot. This is okay. So, for example, someone in our office who maybe either has been on our team, like Carol, our designer, who's been on our team for 4 or 5 years, or someone we share the office with, like Henry, when they suddenly show up dressed up, I usually accuse them of going on a date. Be like, oh, where are you going today? You tell me who you are going with, what their number is, so I can approve.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick definitely says that a lot. 但是当然，因为我们在这种很小团队的一个情况、一个场景，所以用这样的句子跟你很熟的人，我觉得完全没有关系。只是说，如果你在一个 corporate environment 这种上下 hierarchy 非常强的话，我觉得就要很小心了。
Definitely, yeah. If you don't know someone that well, because you may also trigger someone going, well, I dress up every day. What are you saying? Like, I don't look nice most of the days? Like, you don't want to create that trigger. But be careful and pay attention to that relationship. If you're close, any kind of joke like this goes pretty well as long as you feel there's a good relationship there. But if it's someone you don't know that well or they're new, think twice before you put this out there.
Yeah, I mean, really simply, you could just say, you look so nice today. And that's all you have to say. 你也不用讲说 you look so hot, you look sexy. I mean, don't say that. That's, you know, definitely, if it's around your friends, 我觉得也 OK. 但是呢，如果你只是很想要很安全的方式的话， just say you look really nice today.
Another way you can go about it is just comment on what they're wearing or maybe an accessory and how it complements them. Be like, wow, that dress works great on you.
Or you can say like, I love the design of your bracelet. I think that also says something about this person's taste.
The next phrase we want to get into is an answer to a question, but if with the wrong tone or in the wrong context, it can create a sense of animosity as opposed to acknowledgement. And that phrase is very simply, I know.
So let's say 如果我今天请 Nick 帮我做一件事情，或者是来 Nick, you gotta go edit this episode. It has to go up tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
所以听起来就是那种不耐烦的意思。不管你怎么讲这个 I know 好了，其实我觉得你用不同的 tone 去讲 I know， 好像听起来就是不耐烦 right?
Yeah.
It has that meaning.
I know.
It just sounds patronizing. So here 我比较建议大家，如果呢你想要回应人家的一个 request， 你就讲 I see, noted or sure, no problem.
Any of these phrases just tend to come across a little bit more patient or more accepting. Even if you know something, I think that's just because like in English, teenagers, you know, growing up in America, teachers be like, I know, mom, right? Like that's just the phrase and parents are just like, ah. So if they hear that in the office, maybe that same trigger happens there.
Exactly, yeah.
using other phrases sometimes just kind of lowers that annoyance or the other parts of the level and just be like, yeah, sure, noted. No, I got it, definitely.
那下一个呢，它其实这个小小的一个字，但是它的那个 tone 有点不太对的话呢，听起来也是那种不耐烦的感觉。And that is the magic word fine. F-I-N-E, fine.
Last week, we talked about that question. How are you?
Yeah.
Fine, thank you. And how that works across. Fine here often jumps into the same purpose where fine now becomes an all-purpose word for literally anything. It could mean I agree. It could mean I hate you. It could mean a million things. So fine just became this ambiguous word where when someone says fine, be like, really? The worst offender of this, I would say, is my dear lovely partner, Sherry.
What?
Like, is everything okay?
Fine.
No, that's not usually. It comes across as like, I'm fine. Like, oh, okay.
Exactly. 我相信应该很多女生或者是反正很多人啦，应该都会有这种，人家问你说 Are you okay? Are you okay doing this? Fine. 但听起来都是很不 fine, right? Yeah. Obviously, I think this is very similar with the phrase I know. It just sounds like you're a little bit frustrated that you don't actually want to do this.
Yes, again, the analogy I come back to is teenagers. If a parent has ever been like, how was school? Fine. Can you go clean your room? Fine.
It's my daughter.
Right. So no one feels it is fine. So it really has nothing to do with the word. It's just the context in which we're used to hearing this in. Or if someone's just like, oh yeah, that report was fine. Usually you're like, oh,
yeah, it's not good.
Red flag.
Exactly. 所以我觉得在用这个字的之前，你可以稍微想一下，有什么字可以来代替它们。So if it's a request, just say, okay, sure. 那当然，如果你不是非常 OK 的话，你也可以用一些比较专业的方式能够讲出来说 I have a couple of questions. I'm not sure how to do this. So 尽量不要用 fine 来带过。
The next word is, funny enough, something I see a lot of people putting online is like, this is a phrase you should learn, or this is a word you should learn. But this is definitely one of those things that, depending on who you're talking to, you better be very careful.
Yeah.
And that is the word pass.
So I think a lot of people get confused on how to actually use this word. Okay, 如果你今天是跟一群朋友 again, with a lot of friends, with your friends, if they ask you to do something you just don't want them to do, and it's really okay if you just say, I pass or hard pass. Like for me, 有任何的人跟我说你要不要去 camping, I would just say hard pass.
Yeah, not a camping person. With your friends, etc., if they know your personality and they won't take that too seriously, sure. Be like, oh, I'm going to have to take a pass on tonight. I'm too tired. They will probably not be offended by that.
Right.
But you definitely, in a work context, need to be careful if your boss is like, it's really important for us to get this done this weekend. Can you please come in on Saturday? And if someone was like, hard pass.
Then we will not see that person on Monday.
Yeah, they're going to hard pass your salary next month.
Exactly. 或者可能老板说，诶，我们来礼拜五去 happy hour 吧 Let's go grab a drink. Hard pass.
Yeah.
You're done. Again, be careful with this phrase. 如果你想要比较婉转的一点方式，比如说你真的不太想去这个邀约的话 you can say, oh, sounds great, but I have another engagement. Maybe next week. Or you can say, oh, thank you for inviting me. I will check my schedule and I'll get back to you at the end of today.
Now, if you really want to be more upfront about not wanting to do this thing, you can say something like, thank you so much for thinking of me. But I found long ago, I'm not really, and then you can fill in the blank, a something person. So in Sherry's case, it'd be like, I'm not really a camping person. So maybe next time you guys do something, let me know. Or again, with the happy hour, it'd be like, I found out a long time ago, I'm not really a big drinker. So I don't want to bring down you guys' fun. I'll get you next time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 这个方式呢非常直接，但是呢你也不会让人家感到不舒服啊，或者是好像很尴尬。Just direct, but also very polite, very professional.
We hope you guys enjoyed these few phrases that you can think twice about the context and consider who you're saying it to before you use in the office place. There are times that they fit in just fine, but think about what's my relationship with this person and what's the sentiment I want to have come across. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.